me, it'd be Kyle Sweeney. I know they're playing him at 12, but I just think he's an out and out wing back. That's just he's got that top level speed. He's got that sixth gear, kind of Jack McCaffrey pace that when he puts on the burners, good luck, good night. Um, I think that's his position. Yeah, and I think he'd be a real threat. Like the way Galway are playing at the minute, if he has fresh legs under him, Galway turn over a ball like they were yesterday, four or five lads around the ball and he's gone from five or seven. Good luck chasing him as a wing forward.
The Maroon and White Pod brought to you by CityLink. For bookings, timetables, updates, and any other information, head to citylink.ie. You're welcome along to the Maroon and White Pod. Galway survived in Division 1 even after a defeat to Kerry, but Roscommon ultimately had to win for Galway to go down. They were heavily defeated by Derry, and Galway came up short by 2 points against Kerry, and that brings an end to the National League campaign, and Galway retained their status for 2025 in Division 1. I'm joined now by former Galway footballer David Wynne. First, David, before we look at the league overall, what did you make of Galway's performance yesterday and the result against Kerry?
How are you, Paul? Thanks for having me on. Good to be back. Been a while. Um, yeah, it was nearly like a microcosm of their league as a whole, wasn't it? They were very. I thought they were very good initially. Obviously, the first 20 minutes, they were 5-2 up, but the first half as a whole, I actually thought they were well structured. You know what I mean? I thought their forward play was smart, controlled, and then at the back, they seemed to have reverted to the +2 in front of the full back line. They were freeing up John Daly. Um, Keane Darcy did a lot of work from 11 to allow that to happen, I think. And then they were making Kerry work really hard for the score. So even going in at halftime, 8-6 down, like the two scores before halftime were kind of bits of individual brilliance. I think Sean O'Shea kicked a screamer off the right out on under the stand. Kyle Sweeney maybe could have done a bit more, but he's a top player. And then Johnny McGrath got sold with the right-footed dummy for Spillane, and that was 8-6. So bar those two, and they were well set up actually for those two scores as well. So going in at halftime, I'd imagine Galway were quite confident, but then came out in the second half, and after 10 minutes, the game was kind of over. It was 13-7, or I don't know, was it 14-8, and it was just it looked a, a steep mountain to climb at that stage. So yeah, hard to know where to go really at the end of it. I know they only lost by two in the end, but it wasn't really reflective. Kerry were on top for much of the second half, really.
Just that period early on when we raced into 5 points to two lead,
Hmm.
was that nearly the most positive period of, I suppose, Galway play yesterday?
Oh well, yeah, it'd have to be. They came out with intent. They transitioned really well. I thought they were really smart on the ball. Galway have like really, really intelligent footballers. Dylan McHugh, John Daly, Conroy. And then you have Robert Finnerty. Causing trouble inside. I think the first two scores were marks. Great movement, good ball in. Kind of makes it look very simple. You're kind of saying, why can't we just do this all the time? But yeah, Conroy, I think kicked a great score then as well out on the right hand side. But yeah, and then like I said, they were really well set up at the back. They were making Kerry work for every score. It was reminiscent of kind of 2022. Anytime Kerry came into that glue pot in the middle, Galway seemed to have four or five bodies all over it, and they were stripping ball and breaking hard. Carl Sweeney and John Maher, really, really strong runners getting out ahead of the play and kind of allowing then your Dylan McHugh, John Daly, Owen Kelly carry a bit of ball. So yeah, look, like I said, the signs were good early on, and then the bottom just seemed to fall out of it after halftime. I suppose there was a couple of warning signs before halftime, but the 10, 15 minutes after halftime was when Kerry kind of separated themselves, wasn't it?
What did we do where that gap, I suppose, opened up for Kerry in that period for Galway? Where do you think we struggled?
Yeah, I don't know. I watched a bit of it back, and even the first two scores. I think the first one was a free, um, and then cornerback for Kerry got a score. And Galway had numbers back; they were well set up, but they just seem to be making silly mistakes, silly turnovers, bad decisions. I don't know if you've ever heard the term stupid loses more than smart wins, you know.
Mm.
So sometimes it's just about do the simple things and just keep doing them. And whoever does it the most consistently is going to win. And Galway just seemed to be handing the ball to Kerry individual poor decisions. And then when you give a good side like Kerry, chance after chance, they're going to start taking them. And that's what they did.
When you mentioned there, we went with the +2 system. It's something we seen quite often in 2022.
Yeah,
Just from being a defender yourself, is it almost nearly
I'd
you
love
can
that.
see?
I'd have loved that for.
But when you see that happening, is it nearly in your mindset sometimes when you have that +2 system to maybe drop too deep at stages?
I don't know. Probably not. Look, it's lovely to have that cover. Yeah, you know what I
Mm.
mean. And it can allow you to really actually go after individual man marking jobs because sometimes when you get really close to top forward, like you've seen Killian Spillane yesterday, I consider him a top player. I know he hasn't always been a regular starter for Kerry, but he is a class act. And if he gets a sniff on that left foot, it's going to be a score. Um, Johnny McGrath, I think, was tagged up on him, and he did really really well. But when you've got that +2 cover, you can really kind of get stuck into him because if he does slip you left or right, you've got John Daly or Dylan McHugh kind of there to cover you essentially. So now look, Galway know what they're doing in that system. I really do think that. So, obviously it's hard when you've been missing so many players. When the personnel are constantly changing, it's hard to kind of get consistency in that. But it does look like they know what they're doing in that system. So I suppose when we get hopefully Sean Kelly back and Liam Silk gets a bit more game time, and you put those established defenders into that system, hopefully it'll look a little more cohesive and solid. And I think it should give Galway a good base. I think John Daly was kind of the +1 a lot yesterday. I don't know, was it Keane Darcy seemed to be freeing him up coming from 11, and he was at times nearly playing behind the fullback line. As the Kerry, he was like last man back. So it seemed to be, no matter what, let's not let Kerry get a run on us in terms of goals, etc. And they seem to do that. I don't think Kerry had any real clear-cut goal chances. So yeah, no, I like the defensive setup in fairness.
Is it a worry though with the defensive side of things? Quite often Galway are being talked about that they're not scoring enough, that maybe we're lacking one or two scoring forwards with the injuries. But from a defensive point of view, 22 points against Dublin, 15 against Kerry, is that a concern?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the National League as a whole, I think Galway were averaging, was it? I'm not sure. I did look at it. Was it 13 or 4? Maybe conceding 13 or 14 points a game. Maybe one more than I think Derry and Dublin, who are top. You know what I mean? They're similar to Kerry, similar to Mayo. So they're not a million miles away, considering all the bodies that they're missing in terms of defensive setup. Obviously, then they really struggled at the other end. Against Dublin, Dublin just seemed to get a run on us there. They seem to be operating on another level themselves in Derry at the minute. And when you're missing, it's a caveat when we speak about Galway football, it seems to be for the last 2, 3 months. We have to talk about the injuries. When you take 6 or 7 players out of any setup, it's gonna be hard. So I think they deserve a bit of credit. They've kept their Division One status, which is so important. It's so pivotal for the growth of that squad. Getting the high level Division One minutes into players is key for the development of all those players. So they deserve a bit of credit for being able to hang on in Division One for sure.
Even Porrick referenced that it'd be an achievement in itself. And as you talked there with the squad they've had, different lads have been injured different days, even lads that played yesterday. But that is an achievement in itself. Obviously, they would have probably liked to win to secure their status yesterday, but just the fact that they did survive in Division One.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is an achievement. That would have been the goal going out at the start. After last year, they probably weren't too focused on getting to a league final. So retaining Division One status was a must. They did that. They lost to, arguably the top four teams in the country. They lost to Kerry, Derry, Dublin, Mayo. And when you consider you're missing six or seven of your best players, that's always going to be a tough task. So they got a lot of game time into a lot of players. Killian O'Curran, Owen Kelly, Rory Cunningham. Sean Fitz got more game time. So like there are definitely positives to be taken. And there's an awful lot of football left to be played.
Just on yesterday, we were nearly going back, I suppose, to performances yesterday that were just unbelievable, particularly Paul Conroy and Johnny Heaney. They were the
Mm.
real standouts, but no surprise for you when you've soldiered with them too.
Yeah, look, they're two legends. I think we're used to it now at this stage with Conroy for sure. He was brilliant again yesterday. Two scores were, inspirational. Um, and then, he was putting in tackles all over the pitch. He had an unbelievable tackle at one stage. Kerry actually ended up getting a score from it. I think we might have been 5-2 or 5-3 up at the state
Well, yeah, and Joe O'Connor, I think it was, yeah.
yeah, yeah. To put his body on the line like that, turn a ball over. Now it ended up at a Kerry man's foot, but yeah, no, he was outstanding. And then yeah, Johnny Heaney has just taken things to a new level, really, from his performances. It's funny, like I've heard a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Johnny Heaney's finally getting credit for everything that he's doing. All the work that he's been putting in for years. But I don't think that the casual GA fan or the media have suddenly um, figured out how to judge a hard working wing forward. You know what I mean? I believe that Johnny is actually he's taken his game. He's broke through a glass ceiling, if you will. He's taken his game to a new level. He's still doing all the work that he always did. Tracking back, linking play, picking up loose ball, the play at the end where Conroy got his jersey ripped, it was Johnny, lying on the ground fighting for the ball. He's still doing all that stuff. But then on top of that, he's now added, two or three power plays essentially a game where he's beating it, just I said, taking a man on one, kicking the ball over the bar. I know it sounds very simple, but in inter-county Division One level, that's just not easy to do, and that's what's kind of bringing him into that. He was always a top quality inter-county footballer, but he's getting into that rare air of Damien Comer, Paul Conroy, Sean Kelly. Where you couldn't imagine going out without him. So yeah, delighted for him, and look, he deserves it. He's been putting in hard work for I think 2016. He made his debut, so he's a stalwart now at this stage.
Is he someone that talks a lot in the dressing room?
Johnny would be, yeah. Well, yeah, he would. When Johnny speaks, you'd listen. You know what I mean? He wouldn't just be waffling. In fairness to him, he knows the game, um, and he leads by example. He he works awful hard. So it's easy. It's easy to talk when you're kind of putting in the effort. You know what I mean? That's not easy for me. He is a Kalana man, so you have to
You're biting your tongue.
bite my tongue here. Yeah, I know. Look, you know the compliments are sincere when they come from my Cullen man.
Just on yesterday, as we were referencing, it did feel like somewhat of a hammering, but there has to be positives as well in one sense when they kept battling, they scored 1-2 late on, they didn't throw in the towel. But what do you think the management will take away from that game?
Um, Again, like I think they'll be happy with the first half performance, and then I think they'll be disappointed with the 15-20 minutes after halftime, and but the bottom line is when you're going out against Kerry, Derry, or Dublin, Mayo, if you don't put 60, 65 minutes of consistent football together, you're just not going to win. You're not going to be able to compete with those teams. Now, again, there's the caveat when you're missing so many players, it's very hard to do that. But yeah, look, I think I think there's a lot of positives still to be taken from yesterday and from the league as a whole. John Maher again was outstanding yesterday. He's along with Johnny Heaney, they've gone to another level. He's just 7, 8 out of 10 every day. Now you can kind of count on that box to box. I think he got two blocks in yesterday. He was picking up ball, turning over ball. He was, you could see him kind of as the shadow runner every single time Galway broke. So it's not easy to do. So um, when we start getting a few more bodies back, I think we'll really there's still a really really strong experienced panel there. So I think Galway have All Ireland on the mind and nothing else. I'm sure that so.
Do you still think they're in the conversation for that now?
Yeah, maybe not with the casual fan or in the media. Everyone seems to be writing them off, but hopefully you just don't know what these things. Hopefully that can galvanize the group. You know, I know for a fact. Sean Kelly, Paul Conroy, Damien Comer, Johnny Heaney. These lads are talking about All Irelands. They're not going out to Loch George. 3, 4 nights a week now moving forward just to tick a box. There's one thing on their mind, and if we can start getting a few bodies back, John Daly, Dylan McHugh, these are well-established intercounty players now. So you start getting a couple of bodies back, and you just don't know when you get a bit of momentum. I said to you before we came on, like no, look, I don't want to my mother and father are from Sligo, so and I have relations in London, so I don't want to be jumping the gun here, but presuming Galway get to a Connacht final against Mayo or a Scotland in 6 weeks' time, like that's a massive game. If Galway could win if Galway could win Connacht, essentially, you'd be looking at a group without Dublin and Kerry for sure, and probably Derry. Maybe there might be an upset in Ulster, but everything going to plan, and then that's three more games, in 6 more weeks. So you just don't know. There's a long way to go yet.
Just on the end of yesterday's game, a picture of Paul Conroy was viral over social media yesterday, the jersey
Yeah,
being ripped off him. I'm sure it's something you'd like to do to your opponents yourselves when you're ranking them, but
fabric. What fabric are they using for these jerseys anymore?
yeah, they must be too light.
Huh?
Do you think this is something that needs to be cut out? Because it just seems to happen too often in games where it's pulled the jersey and it's nearly that just kind of kicks off in the league.
I don't think so. Or maybe I'm the wrong person to be asking. Nah, I don't think it's that big a deal. It's just, social media loves all this kind of stuff, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. He got a little rip in it, and then when there was a bit of a scuffle at the end, the game was still in the balance at that stage. Kerry wanted the ball, Galway wanted the ball. Your man caught the jersey and ripped it down. It's not that big of a deal. Paul will get a bit of a Paul will be delighted. He got the abs on social media, so he's happy out.
So then just on the league overall, survival obviously very important, achieve that. But for you, what are the big positives to take away from Galway's league campaign?
Uh, Positives to take away, I suppose, are obviously retain Division One status, which is um, just so important. It can't be understated. Getting game time into players at a Division One level is just it's just a must for growth and development and to push this group on to where we want it to go. So that needs to be applauded. Um, Secondly, getting game time, obviously with all the injuries, that we're constantly talking about. The positive against that is the game time that we got into, younger players, Killian O'Curry, Rory Cunningham, Keane Darcy. Like I said, Sean Fitz got more game time. Who else am I missing there? Who else got game time? Niall Daly got game time through the league. that again can't be understated. So look, that's a real positive. Owen Kelly, obviously from my Cullen, got some good Division One football into him, so that's super. And then as well, like I've alluded to already, I think he the likes of Johnny Heaney and John Maher kind of going to another level. You know, like they're already established intercounty players, but they've now kind of broke through that as I said earlier, kind of glass ceiling. Like they're both just 8 out of 10 guaranteed every day you go out. You know, real leaders on the pitch. First two probably names on the team sheet moving forward. So it's like anything, you know, it's everything kind of slows down, you know, like it's not easy to get to that level. You know, you could play for 10 years at intercounty and just, you know, you just can't get there. But it's great to have more people that we can rely on moving forward. You know, it's not always going to be Sean Kelly or Paul Conroy or Damien Comer. I think moving forward now, hopefully if we get a bit of a run, you know, we'll be looking to John Maher and Johnny Heaney and these lads to really pull us through on certain occasions. And then as well as that, I think, you know, we found a real gem in Johnny McGrath at cornerback. You know, he's got a lot of praise over the last weeks, but I know he's been brilliant. You know, he's an out and out intercounty cornerback, so that's great as well.
Is the biggest positive here for PJ that when he looks in the championship now, maybe he looked at his bench last year in the championship and there was probably a few players on the bench that haven't played, but that these players are now tested at this level and he probably knows a lot more about them now of who to throw in the heat of battle.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like you can do all the training you want, but it's not until you actually get out against your Kerrys or your Derrys or your Mayos, um, that you know that these lads are up to it. You know, and a lot of lads have proved themselves now through the league, and like they deserve a bit of credit as well because making your debut, you know, the likes of Killian O'Curry or Rory Cunningham, like them making their debuts without Shaney, Damo, Matty Tierney up top as well. You know, it's a lot harder. Like if you were to bring Killian O'Curry into a team that had Damo Comer, Rob Finnerty, Matthew Tierney in it, you know, all of a sudden he's going to find himself with a lot more room than he had, would say, yesterday. You know, so they deserve a lot of credit for going out there and performing as well as they did. Um, I suppose on that as well, I wouldn't be rushing. Like again, I don't know what the state of play with the injuries are, but you know, if you start getting Shaney and Damo and these lads back, wouldn't be one bit surprised if they were held in reserve. You know, be some impact from Shane Welsh or Damien Comer off the bench, you know, in a big game with 15, 20 minutes to go. So yeah, might be a change of tactic there. I'm not sure, but it's definitely something I'd be looking at.
How soon do you think we need to see some of these players back? Just because I know Sean's played a bit of the league, but obviously injured for a lot of the club campaign. Killian McDade injured for a lot of the club campaign. Same with Matthew Tierney. Same with Damo at stages. Shane Walsh was obviously coming back from Kilmacud, but a lot of these players haven't played in 2024.
Yeah, they need to get some high level game time into them for sure. Some players more than others. You know, it all kind of depends on your body makeup as well. Like I know for a fact the likes of Shane and Damien, they need game time, you know. Whereas Sean Kelly could probably roll out of bed, you know, and play an All Ireland final tomorrow morning. You know, he'd just be able to go. Shaney, Damien, these kind of really explosive players, you know, they're not built to just be, you know, not train or not do anything for 6, 8 weeks and then be thrown out into a high intensity inter-county match, like and be asked to play 50 or 60 minutes. You know, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, you'd really want to see them, if not for London, definitely for the semi-final. You'd hope to see a couple of these guys starting to come back. I don't know how, I haven't actually. Have you heard anything on the likes of Matthew Tierney or is Killian McDade even in the running?
I know McDade was obviously it wasn't his fibia, it was the groin that he injured. And I think was it Matthew Tierney's quad or grind that he injured, but I think him and Shane Walsh have the same injury.
Okay, that was a quad, I think. Yeah, I
Quad, yeah. So
quad.
I think they both had torn quads, so that's what's kept them out.
Okay.
But yeah, similar to that, I don't think anyone in Galway knows apart from that setup.
Yeah. No, but to your point, it is important, that we start to see a couple of them come back. Now, I think hopefully Shawnee, we got minutes into Liam Silk yesterday, which is brilliant. He's obviously a very valuable player for Galway, really experienced. Those couple of
Is Liam more of a threat in the full back line or half back line for you?
I'd play him in the full back line. Yeah, I would. I'd play him in the full back line. Same with Shawnee. I think Sean Kelly. I'm not sure who you might want to play in the full back line, but that's where I'd be playing him. I think it's his best position. And like if you've those two boys in your full back line, you're gonna be pretty solid. It's a solid platform to start building out from. So, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the plan is within the setup. But yeah, for me, I'd have Liam at cornerback. Yeah, he's often comfortable on the ball as well. And the way the game has gone now, your cornerbacks end up carrying majority of your ball. When it gets recirculated, 2 and 4 need to be able to carry ball. And be comfortable on the ball. So Liam definitely ticks those boxes.
That's interesting because Pork referenced after the Tyrone game, it was that they wanted a kind of a bit of pace in the half back line and breaking the line. Who do you see as that seven? Because Dylan McHugh and John Daly are obviously going to be there, but as that seven, maybe just to add that bit of extra pace because we seem to need it the way we play with breaking that line.
For me, it'd be Kyle Sweeney. I know they're playing him at 12, but I just think he's an out and out wing back. That's just he's got that top level speed. He's got that sixth gear, kind of Jack McCaffrey pace that when he puts on the burners, good luck, good night. Um, I think that's his position. Yeah, and I think he'd be a real threat. Like the way Galway are playing at the minute, if he has fresh legs under him, Galway turn over a ball like they were yesterday, 4 or 5 lads around the ball, and he's gone from 5 or 7. Good luck chasing him as a wing forward. Yeah, but there are options there as well. Obviously, like Kieran Malloy kind of fell out of favor, but he's still a really really good footballer. Um, Depending on what they do in the full back line, you've just got so many options now. You've Jack Glynn is still there, Owen Kelly, obviously Sean Fitz, Johnny McGrath. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what they're going to do. Yeah, but for me, um I'd like to see Carl Sweeney at 7. I think that's his best position.
Hey, surprised Conroy hasn't got more of a goal in the forwards.
Paul,
Yeah.
um, yeah, maybe at 11. Might see him at 11. Look, he can play anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're not playing him at 11. I think the way Galway play, probably they have that number 11 role working is a real kind of it seems like it's a real workhorse role. It seems like it's kind of there to generate plus ones and allow the back six or the back eight to get set up. Keen Darcy got through a Trojan amount of work yesterday. So you probably don't want Paul in that role. You want Paul to be fresh-ish when he gets on the ball. You want him to be able to kind of play football as opposed to just going box to box. So maybe that's why they're playing him at 8 or 9. I'm not sure.
They have these dilemmas now with London approaching the Saturday week the game is taking place. From your own experience going over to Royslip in preparation now, what did the next week and a bit look like?
I suppose it's a bit of a reset now that the league is over and you're moving into championship. You know, um, like the end of the league can turn into a bit of a slog. As injuries start to build up, etc., and pressure starts to build. You need to make sure that you're retaining your Division One status. So, like we said, they tick that box. Now it's kind of job done. Let's reset, reassess, and kind of put the championship hat on. So Everton will need to come up another level. And look, I'm sure. they'll have their meetings this week, and they'll be kind of getting that point across the group, and then it's just about getting out to London and performing, which isn't easy to do either. It's different. We were nearly caught over there, and well, yeah, we were nearly caught over there in 2018. It's a real party kind of an atmosphere over there, so it's a little bit different to what you're used to. But like I said, they've got so many experienced players now that I wouldn't imagine it being a problem.
What is the challenges with Rushliff? Am I wrong in saying you have to walk through the crowd when you're playing there? No?
No, no, not when you come.
Okay.
All right, but there is it's just a party really
Yeah.
going on around you, yeah. And the the fence. So essentially, there's a stand on one side, and then there's kind of a fence. It's all fenced around it, but the fence is only about 2 foot from the sideline. So I remember were running a kick out whereby the two cornerbacks had to just get pretty much get to the sideline, right? So our first kick out, I think Roy Lavelle was in goal. I just got to the sideline, and standing literally 2 foot away from me is just like 20 lads with pints in their hands leaning over the bar. Please don't kick the ball out here to me. I could get a pint of John Smith's across the back of my head. But yeah, so it's a different atmosphere. But I don't look, like I said, this Galway team is very, very experienced, and they'll be going out there to just get the job done and move on.
Just with that, it's hard probably to see some of the injured players playing against London because they weren't back yesterday. Well, apart from Tomo, I suppose, back yesterday, he's probably pushing for a spot now. But
Yeah.
more or less, they're probably going with the same kind of pool of players that they've used so far for this London game.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So yeah, nothing will change. It's again, it's just going to have to come up a level. I know it might sound strange. You're going from playing Kerry, who were, All Ireland finalists last year, to playing London, who were Division 4 team. But in terms of moving from league to championship, from Galway standpoint, they're gonna have to bring their level of play and intensity up, and I'm sure they will. Yeah, I'm confident that they will.
Is it hard to pick up these younger players now on the back of two two defeats like the Dublin and Kerry game?
I don't think so. I think there's enough know-how, there's enough experience in that group. Like the management team are there 5 years. They know what they're doing now at this stage. Paul Conroy, Sean Kelly, Damo's in and around, Johnny Heaney, John Maher's been in there now a couple of years. Those lads are going to be the boys speaking in meetings and in the dressing room for the next week, 10 days, so they'll get the message across. League is done now, it's finished. We got what we wanted from it. Now the real journey begins, regardless of what's been said outside, and it's actually, they're in a nice position that the expectations have really come down. Feels like everyone in Galway and everyone in the media is kind of writing them off, which I know myself, I'd far rather be in that dressing room than the one that's been kind of put up on a pedestal. So yeah, I'm positive enough about how things are going to go. Like I said, there's an awful lot of football left to be played. If we can get a couple of bodies back and get a bit of momentum, just don't know.
Just with that, then, the Park, Galway, they're obviously playing next now against London, but the focus now has been for a lot of players like yourself. The club season comes back around, but before we talk about this year, just on last year, you were hoping to go back to back, came up short against Kerfin. How do you reflect on 2023 from my comment?
Badly. Yeah, it's tough. I don't like to think about it. I know, look, obviously, our goal was to go back to back. And Kerfin were the better team on the day. That's just the way it goes sometimes, I don't think I don't think we could have done anything too differently. We trained well, we were well prepared. Obviously losing Sean
Yeah.
before the game doesn't help. That was a setback, but there was still a belief in the group that we could go out and we could get the job done. But yeah, look, Kerfin, look, Kerfin were really, really good on the day. They knew what they were doing. They had a lot of work put in as well. And yeah, like I said, they deserved it on the day. So it is what it is. You move forward, you try and learn from it, and then you just kind of put your energy and refocus into the year moving forward, and you go again.
Have you ultimately just forgotten about all of that now? Is that just parked?
No, listen, there's a photo on the wall. There's a photo on the wall down in the gym. No, look, you don't forget you don't forget about it. Obviously, like you ask anyone, they'll remember the losses a lot easier than they remember the wins. So you just try and you try and turn that energy into, you put it into your training, you put it into your preparation moving forward this year, and you kind of ask yourself, maybe there was two, three, four, five things that I did throughout the year last year, throughout the game last year, that I could have done differently, that I can improve on, and that's it. Then you just try and put yourself in a position to go after it again.
Does it help this year having Neil Mulcahy, Peter Cook, Owen Gallagher, those players back with you? Obviously, I think it was seven last year, but does it help having some of those players back with the club now from the start?
Yeah, look, it does, I suppose. It does that they're not involved in the county setup. But like any club, around this time of year, playing league, there's weddings, there's stags, lads are going on holidays, lads have lives. So, you're just kind of trying to keep the train on the tracks over the next couple of weeks until the All Ireland series is over. And that's really then when it gets into full flow. I think it's the key to the split season. I like you can't be flogging lads for the next 6, 8, 10 weeks. And then when it gets to September, October, when big games are decided, there needs to be a hunger and a want there as well. So the next couple of weeks, look, we'll train hard, but at the same time, lads have lives to live.
Do you like the current structure of the split season, or would you make a change or two to it?
I love it. It suits me. It suits me. Yeah, no, look, obviously it's not great for the intercounty players. Look I know it's been spoken about now at length, but Shawnee there 2 years ago, he just didn't get a break going from club level to county level. It's just like a continuous calendar, which isn't great. For the club players, I suppose the drawback is you're playing the biggest games of the year in terrible weather conditions. Usually, you get to kind of end of October, November, and it's Pierce Stadium, it's pouring rain, gale wind, and it's the biggest game of the year. That's the frustration there. But look, I don't have the answer. I don't. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to change it. I'm happy enough with it anyway. It suits me for the time being, my lifestyle.
A certain Donegal man has joined the My Cullen management team this year. Mark McHugh worked with
Mm.
Ross Common last year. What's he brought so far?
Um, he has, yeah, it's taken us a while to get used to the accent. We've had to acclimatize to that. I was saying to you before we came on, run is very easy to distinguish. And oh, look, he's been good so far. He's only down with us one day a week. Carl Clancy has taken over from Don Cadell, and Don stepped away. He was with us 7 years. The group wouldn't be where it is without him. So Don has given us so much. So he's stepped away. He's gonna prioritize other things for a while now. He'll still be around, I'm sure. But yeah, and Carl Clancy has stepped up and taken the reins, and then we've McHugh is in and Kieran Murphy under him coaching. So yeah, look, it's working well so far. Like I said earlier, it's kind of tough this time of year. Lads have lives to live, so it's just trying to train hard, get the league games played, and put some sort of structure and processes, etc., in place that when we do get kind of all shoulders to the wheel and all bodies on the ground, that we can move forward quickly. So yeah.
Is McHugh getting involved in a lot of the drills? Because that was the word on the street in Roscommon that he very much as a coach gets involved in them as well.
Oh yeah, he's stuck on everything. Yeah, he's stuck on everything. Look, he's football mad. He's obsessed with football, which is great. It's a new voice as well. It's any setup. Whether it be work or sport. If you're listening to the same voices consistently, it's hard to consistently motivate the same group. So Mark has come in now. It's not like he's um, redesigning the wheel or anything like that. But I just having a new voice, having new kind of philosophies. He's definitely brought lads are getting a bit of a bounce from him. There's a nice level of intensity to it, and it's good for, we've 18, 19, 20 year olds coming in there, so it's really good for them to be involved with a coach of his caliber. He should hopefully really really improve them. Yeah.
Just on that, you mentioned 18, 19-year-olds. There's probably a few now coming through from that county minor winning team you had. That's important to have a coach like that for those players to come into a setup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. Um, the more different footballing philosophies and different footballing voices that they hear, the better they're going to be. They're all well sick of listening to me and a few more roundabouts. So, no, it's great to have new eyes, fresh eyes. Because you can get stuck and set in your ways in a group like that. So Mark has come in, he's no allegiances to anyone. He doesn't know any of us really from Adam. So he's given a new perspective and a new kind of at least a life to the group, if you will.
Frank Fox the aim this year.
Huh?
Frank Fox the aim.
That's the aim. Yeah, that's the goal. It's
Yeah.
written. I think it's the goal of every senior club, isn't it? They've all got it written on the
Oh,
walls. So
Jesus, Dave, you well trained.
yeah, yeah, media training. Yeah.
Just one question that came in, David, before we go.
Oh God.
I think it's Philip Lydon from my Cullen. He just wants to know, would winners recommend bicycle shorts for training instead of shorts?
Yeah, yeah. So Philly is a stalwart of my Cullen football. He's brother of Mark Lydon, Henry as well. Henry's actually managing the junior team this year. Um, so what Phila is referring to is my first ever senior training session with my Cullen footballers. I think it was 15 or 16. Yeah, I forgot my shorts. So I said, yeah, here we go. Let's go out and make a good impression. Bicycle shorts on. Yeah. Billy's never forgotten
Well, so, well, that's all we do have time for on today's podcast. David, thanks a million for coming on this week's podcast.
Thanks a million, Paul.